Hey, welcome back to Grill 143, Episode 3. I'm JJ, and today we're going with the California Classic Santa Maria style tri-tip. It's real easy to season up. It's a very popular cut of meat out here, and for good reason. There's a lot of marbling in the meat, a lot of fat, which just adds a lot of flavor and keeps it real tender and juicy. It turns out fantastic. So let's get into the seasoning. All right, let's start with the tri-tip. Today we have a 3-pound tri-tip, and you can buy your tri-tips two ways out here in California, trimmed or untrimmed. And I always buy mine untrimmed. That just refers to how much fat is left on the tri-tip. And you can see on this side, there's not a whole lot of fat on this side. You can see the marbling, but when we flip this over, this is where you get that nice fat cap. And this is the way I always buy it. I always like to have as much fat on here as possible, but there's a little too much right here. I mean, you can see right in here, it's pretty thick, and then this side right here, it's almost an inch thick right here. So we're just going to shave a little bit of this off. So get you a sharp knife. Just going to shave a little bit of this off on this corner. And right in here, get my hand out of the way, we're going to shave a little bit right here. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm okay with that. I mean, we can always cut the fat off after we grill this. But so next step, actually before we season this up, you're gonna wanna make sure you season up a tri-tip at least 24 hours before you plan on grilling it. At least 24 hours. It's always better to let this sit in the marinade for a while. All right, so the next thing, I'm just gonna take a knife, we're just gonna poke a few holes in here. It's gonna allow that seasoning to really penetrate the meat and get inside. So let's poke a few holes. And now for the seasoning, this is real simple, only 2 ingredients for the seasoning. We're not even using salt and pepper because today we're using Pappy's Choice seasoning. This is a real good seasoning out here in California for Santa Maria style. And this is pretty salty, so we're not even gonna use salt and pepper before. So we're just going straight on. We're just gonna open this up, go straight on with this. And go ahead and put a good amount of this on there too. I mean, don't be shy with this stuff. Put a good amount on, and I just like to kind of pat it in, make sure it sticks to the meat. We're gonna flip it over, season up this other side real good. And pat this side in as well. All right, and then you can see all the seasoning on the cutting board. Let's go ahead and roll this and make sure you get all the sides and edges coated. Get a nice coating all around this tri-tip. We'll take a Ziploc bag. This is a 1-gallon Ziploc bag. Place this tri-tip right inside. You can even scrape up the rest of the seasoning. Don't want to waste any. Put that right in there. And the last thing we're going to add to this is a little bit of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. We're gonna put a couple of tablespoons, probably 3 to 4 tablespoons in here. Flip it over. Put a little on that side. And we're just gonna seal this up. Get as much of the air out as you can. Seal this up. Kind of massage it a little bit. And that's it. We're gonna let this sit in the fridge for about 24 hours. And whenever you go in for a drink or think about it, you can go ahead and just flip this meat over in the fridge a couple times throughout the next 24 hours. And hey, we'll see you guys back when it's time to put this thing on the grill. All right, so it's been about 24 hours since we seasoned this tri-tip up. And yes, I still have the same outfit on that I was wearing yesterday. All right, for the last hour, we're gonna take this out of the fridge for the last hour before we put this on the grill and let this sit on the countertop and let that internal temp come back closer to room temp. That's really gonna cut down on the grilling time. All right, and today we're looking for an internal temperature of about 125 to 130 degrees. That's gonna give us that rare to medium rare finish that we're looking for. To make sure we nail that, I recommend that you guys invest in some sort of meat thermometer, so you can check the internal temp, because a tri-tip is not the kind of meat that you want to be cutting up to make sure it's done properly, because as soon as we hit our internal temp, We're gonna take this off the grill, we're gonna wrap it in aluminum foil and let it rest for 10 to 15 minutes before we cut it up. That's really gonna let those juices redistribute back into the meat and make it super juicy and tender. So, all right, you guys stay tuned. We'll get this on the grill. All right, today we're using Royal Oak charcoal on the Weber grill. And make sure you get you a nice big pile of charcoal and set it off to the side. We're going indirect heat with this method today. We're also going to be putting two chunks of hickory wood on here to smoke this tri-tip. Go ahead and put 2 chunks on here, like that. Put our grate on here. Set our tri-tip on here, away from the fire. Let this go for about 15 minutes. We'll come back and check it. And I always start with the fat side up. It really doesn't matter whether you go fat side up or fat side down. I always tend to put it fat side up, but whatever way you prefer. We'll flip this in 15 minutes. All right, that's looking great. It's been 15 minutes. We're gonna flip this tri-tip. Put the lid back on. We're gonna let this sit for another 15 minutes. It's gonna take anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour to cook, so we're gonna check the temperature when we come back and flip it. Stay tuned. Right, it's been another 15 minutes. We're sitting at 98 degrees, so we're gonna go ahead and flip this one more time. Let it sit for another 15 minutes. All right, so it's been 45 minutes. We're sitting at 127 degrees. That's perfect. We're gonna take this off, wrap this in aluminum foil, and wrap this up and let it sit for about 15 minutes before we cut it up. See you inside. All right, we let this sit for about 15 minutes in the foil. Get you a sharp knife and we'll cut this open. Let's see what it looks like. Man, it smells fantastic. Take this out of here. Look at all that juice in there. Save that juice, just set that over to the side. Look at that tri-tip, that looks great. All right, let's see what we got. Of course, there's a small piece on the tip on the end right there is gonna be well done because it's pretty thin. See all that fat on the top that we left there? That's good stuff. All right, so we got it all cut up. Let's get it in our tray. There it is in the serving dish. Look at how juicy that is. We dumped all the juice from the foil and the cutting board on top of that tri-tip. Man, this is gonna be great. Of course, we gotta give this a try. Taste. Run in the juice. So good. That Royal Oak charcoal and the hickory wood just has a really awesome smoke flavor to this meat. And it's pretty easy. I mean, you saw how easy it was to season this up and grill it up. That's all there is to it. Well, thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with us today. We'll see you guys next week. Oh man, that's good.